Many thanks for joining me. This is Addis Asafa. You are watching OBN Horn of Africa. This is Talk to OBN show. Today I joined by Mr. Roba Magarsa, Chief Executive Officer of Ethiopian Shipping and Logistics Service Enterprise. It's a pleasure to have you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Would you tell me a bit about your profile before exactly going to talk about this logistic and shipping related questions?
Of course, I'm so proud that OBN is starting to delve in this program, especially covering the Horn of Africa, which is very important for our logistics performance perspective wise. And thank you for having me. So it's now been more than 20 years since I began my career as a public servant. I started my professional career with law. I attended my law degree from Addis Ababa University some 20 years ago. And then I served for quite a few years as a lawyer, as a practicing lawyer in government offices. But most of my time, like 15 years and above, I served as I've been serving still, of course, as a maritime and logistics sectors expert, as an expert in these fields. Professionally, I can say that I'm a maritime expert in a way that I attended my postgraduate degree in maritime, international trade, public enterprises, and much more other things related with shipping and transport. That's where I did my master's, and I've been now 4 years serving in this enterprise as Chief Executive Officer. Before then, I was serving in one of the merging companies that eventually came to be ESLSE, and that was Maritime and Transit Service Enterprise. I significantly spent quite a few years really working there as an expert in the field, and then I joined, of course, as the founder of the Ethiopian Maritime Affairs Authority. From there, I used to come and go, doing some research, especially the reform and transformational research that have to do with logistics nationwide, and of course, with respect to particularly transforming this important public enterprise, which is the ESL. That contribution even went to the establishment of the merger. I was in one of the committees that dealt really with the establishment of the merger company, constituting of the four former transports.
Okay, you're a long-serving individual in this logistic business, right? Would you exactly tell me about this enterprise, about Ethiopian Logistic and Shipping Service Enterprise since its establishment? Can you give us a bit picture about it?
I'm the second CEO of this enterprise since merger. You know, the merger of this enterprise came to effect since 2011. Since 2011, which is now close to a decade now for this country to function. And in those periods, the transformation that this company has achieved is tremendous. There were many chances, really, not only in this company, but also nationwide. If you see, for a country like that of Ethiopia, with more than 100 million population, is so big that one can say there are no countries like Ethiopia with such a big population without a sea coast. We are a landlocked country. The euphemism of it is that we are also considered as a land-linked country instead of landlocked country. But for me, I say the geographical disadvantaged position that Ethiopia is in puts Ethiopia as being a landlocked country. It has to be put that way, black and white. This really demands for Ethiopia to come up with a robust policy and strategy. All those exercises during my services in this in this sector. I have witnessed the many failure exercises to come up with a working policy and strategy to transform the performance of logistics in this country. Those were the missing links, you know, for this country to be effectively considered as a logistics performers among the high-ranking ones, at least in the Eastern African region. Now, the first initiative that was taken to bring about really changes, significant changes in the logistics performance, especially the import and export trade logistics performance of this country, was the introduction of the multimodal transport system, which is quintessentially a very wonderful vehicle to bring about change for Ethiopia. By multimodal, literally speaking, it means that you involve different modes of transport to vehicle your cargo, international trade, cargoes in international trade, that is import and export. And basically, multimodal transport system in Ethiopia started being implemented only for import and only for limited kinds of cargo.
What are the major reforms being carried out by Ethiopian shipping and logistic service enterprise over the past 3 years?
So the last 3 years really were pivotal for the transformation of this company. One thing is, for the first time, we independently, without any influence, we independently crafted with a 10-year strategy, roadmap and strategy, which aims at developing and really seeing to it where we are going to become as ASL in the coming 10 years. Now, we introduced for the first time an IT transformation package and the international freight, the international financial reporting system.
The merger is needed to have a good outcome, right? In the meantime, you may face a challenge in merging these 4 transport and maritime services. You have, tried to highlight me all the positive outcomes through this multimodal transport and related stuff. But you have probably might faced a problem in merging these 4 entities together.
The merger was made very smooth, really, because the purpose was clearly noted by then, you know. Why? Because those were companies that were performing maritime and auxiliary services, be it transport, dry port, and other services that are within the freight forwarding scheme. So that merger was needed, and the decision to bring about ESLSE as a single company to handle comprehensive activities of transporting and handling of Ethiopia's cargoes, especially the import and export cargo, to its level now. So the challenges that were faced have to relate first with the introduction, with the absence, of course, of clear logistics policy in this country and strategy. That's where the importance of discussing about the reform comes to fore, you know. It is only in these last 3 years that we saw government's attention being, serious government's attention being given to make logistics a priority agenda, you know. That enabled, for the first time, this country to come up with a working strategy, an effectively functioning logistics strategy, which was not there for ages. With it comes the importance of this enterprise.
The new leadership has introduced a homegrown economic strategy. In the meantime, the government is working by setting a 10-year development strategic plan, right? And you are part of it. You have submitted your plan for Development and Plan Commission, right? Can you jot down those plan of you, like 1, 2, 3, and your expectation in the coming 10 years?
Long story short, Ethiopia's position in the coming 10 years are effectively enshrined in the 10-year economic growth plan, and of course the basic one being the homegrown Ethiopia's homegrown economic reform. Within that reform, our company took some of the major activities to make it possible for Ethiopia's position as a logistics performer in its global ranking and logistic performance improved significantly, and we are working on that.
Okay, appreciate it. You've said you're working by introducing the ICT technology and international financial report system in your enterprise recently, right? In what aspect are you going to implement this, the IT technology and this international financial report? Because every institution, every enterprise, every ministries has its own IT solution. What makes yours unique?
From the very nature of logistics, for a logistics to perform effectively and efficiently, it needs to be supported by information technology. It was not possible for long for this company to achieve one. Our system is a cloud-based system, which is very unique. We are working with Oracle, #1 company in the world, and we are starting with a background system, which is a back office system, handling our financial and other activities that would be a foundation for our operational activities to come next. So IT revolution, as you correctly know, is a phased approach. Our first phase has succeeded less than the scheduled time, which has never been achieved in many institutions in Ethiopia, and it's very unique because it's cloud-based. So security problems are going to be addressed effectively, and then with a potential, of course, of switching it to on-premises server and database, and it will bring our customers and eventually be interfaced with Ethiopia's single window service systems to make this company to make this company be a robust technology-based IT supported logistics service provider, which is very crucial to put our competitiveness. And so we will be those are simple activities. Those are simple activities, but even it goes beyond that. We are now linked to some 340 ports where Ethiopia's cargoes are being loaded, and this system links all these networks. It brings all our agents under a single platform to make our business efficient and robust compared to what we used to do by in-house small systems and of course manually, which was a primitive, I say, kind of activity for a logistics company as big as this one. So it will really significantly change a lot. Coming to IFRS, unless your current financial status is transparently depicted, it makes it very much difficult for other companies to consider any kind of partnership proposals. People want to know where you are in terms of finance, so that they can be more attracted to work with you in one of the forms of partnerships that you want to because partnership, why it is important is because this is a big country, 100+ million. A single logistics provider cannot satisfy all the needs of this country, so we need competition, and with competition comes partnership, and partnership can come from outside, abroad, and of course domestic operators that are already functioning.
Appreciate it. Okay, Djibouti port and Djibouti as a country is like a lung for Ethiopia, because it's like a breeze for us. Everything comes through that gateway. So what are you exactly doing in diplomacy activity there, because the Ethiopian government and the Djiboutian government have got their own bilateral relation when it comes to a countryhood relation. In the enterprise level, what is your organization doing?
Djibouti is a very important neighboring country for Ethiopia, not only from our own activity, but I mean considering others. I leave the diplomatic part to the relevant offices to be reflected by the relevant offices, but taking our activity as a pivotal importance for the strengthening of Ethiopia and Djibouti relationship, I can say I have to put it in simple terms that Djibouti is very crucial and a gateway of Ethiopian foreign trade. You know, currently more than 95% of Ethiopia's maritime trade is being handled through Djibouti. The port has been expanding really over the last several years to make Djibouti currently as perhaps the only best performing port and international gateway in the Horn of Africa. We are lucky. I consider myself as being lucky to have a neighboring country like that of Djibouti. Every endeavors that we are taking really to make Ethiopia's trade effective has been taken genuinely, wholeheartedly by Djibouti government and respective officers working with us. There are bilateral agreements signed during different times between the two countries. But beyond that, operationally, every operational activities, to make them very much smooth, the contributions and the assistance, the support that we are getting from Djibouti port and other relevant offices that have to deal with Ethiopia's import and export trade and cargo along handled along the corridor have been made very much effectively running because of the good relations that Ethiopia and Djibouti have. You know, we have a special dedicated office unit within the embassy that has to deal with port activities. It's done a tremendous job in making sure that trade along this corridor is being made smooth and of course in a well-functioning manner. But beyond that, on daily basis, every issue, every challenge that we are facing along this corridor in handling of Ethiopia's import and export have been tackled on timely basis, and the assistance, the cooperation between the two countries in this respect is exemplary, I can say. So Djibouti is really very important for Ethiopia, and we are lucky to have such a good neighboring country to handle Ethiopia's cargo to where we are now in its positive aspect.
How much money is on average paid for a service that we are receiving from Djibouti port per day on average?
It depends on the trade volume, you know. There is no, average cargo movement along the Djibouti corridor is 10,000, say for instance, tons. The services for every single tonnage in Djibouti, be it a stevedoring, may involve some $15 or $16. And other activities are also charged according to the port tariff. But I can say between $500 million, from $300 to $500 million every year, that we directly related to port services. This does not show you the clear picture of how much value of cargo are involved in along the corridor. You know, for the services that we directly pay, it may involve between 300 million and 500 million USD per year. That's only related to port service. But there are activities that are indirectly related to the port, which involve money as big as billions of dollars But if you speak about the specific cargo services and related expenses that we are going to pay to Djibouti, on average of 10 to 15 million tons of import and export cargo along the corridor. These are the figures, but they are rough figures.
Okay, who are your major stakeholders?
Our major stakeholders, you may call it operation-wise, it involves our agents and our presence in several other countries where Ethiopia's cargo are being loaded. And Djibouti port is very important, and other ports, of course, serving Ethiopia. Domestically, our major counterparts, our major stakeholders are Customs Authority and other regulatory authorities that are working in handling and regulating Ethiopia's import and export. Ministry of Transport.
Dear viewers, this brings you the end of our edition today. Hope you had an amazing insight about the works being undergone by Ethiopian Shipping and Logistic Service Enterprise. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful time.